Okay. But yeah, luckily, you know, it's working. अभी बिल्कुल उठ भी नहीं रही मैं रात को, एक बार भी नहीं उठ रही.
Wow, great.
Namaste, Harsh.
Namaste, namaste, Shilpa. Namaste.
And दूसरा अंकुश का टिकट हो गया. He's coming back on 30th June.
Oh, 30th June ko. Okay, all right. Good, good.
Namaste.
I like shirt. I like your shirt.
Whose shirt?
Yours.
आपकी हर्ष.
Oh, mine. Oh, okay.
I'm talking to you.
Namaste,
It's a long kurti.
Yeah.
You want to see the whole thing? Really, the reality is unmanifested. Everything is just Brahm alone. Okay. So from the non-duality, not just talking about the non-duality, but really experiencing of the non-duality, and that's what Janakji had. So
Yes. And there Lord Krishna is saying that you are separate than me. If you do all these things, you will merge into me, right?
Exactly. वो जो chapter हम पिछले हफ्ते हमने किया Sunday को, उसमें यही था ना कि you will know me,
right?
You will enter into me. जब enter हो गए तो non-duality खत्म हो गई.
Right. That's right. What question I had.
So खत्म हो गई. It becomes a non-duality. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I was thinking. So मैंने कहा I'll just
no, you are right.
हर्षी, मेरा भी एक क्वेश्चन है कि जैसे आपने कहा था कि जहाँ गीता खत्म होती है वहाँ अष्टवक्र गीता शुरू होती है, और जहाँ अष्टवक्र खत्म होती है वहाँ अद्भुत गीता शुरू होती है.
अद्भुत,
या तो यही है, डुअलिटी खत्म करके नॉन डुअलिटी पे जाना है.
हाँ, right.
I have a question from yesterday's class, Harsh. Can I ask?
Yes, Rita.
कल हमने मूलाधार की बात करी, तो जैसे कहते हैं कि भाई फिजिकल सर्टन कमजोरियां होती हैं तो आप मूलाधार के ऊपर कंसंट्रेट करो. So even if your मूलाधार is in balance, during your young age it gets weaker. What is the cause? Why do we have more problem in the physical body in old age?
Because physical body जो है with the time it will deteriorate. That's the nature of the physical body.
Right.
पर ये नहीं कि अब बड़े होकर physical body is weak, and then we cannot have the attention towards the upper chakras. If we have practiced, the body could be weak, but we have detached from the physical body.
Good, thank you.
The idea is to detach from it. ये idea नहीं कि मरते दम तक ये body बिल्कुल ठीक रहेगी. अगर 100 साल की उम्र होगी, body will definitely, that's the nature of the physical body, to become old and weak. But if you are detached from it, you don't suffer. And suffering is always with the mind. Okay? Normally, we just don't want to suffer.
Yeah, we don't
even want to go through the pain. Right?
Yes,
so the real journey, yesterday we were talking about before the class, the real journey is with the mind.
Yeah.
Okay? Beshak hamara lower part, because lower part will become weaker than the upper part. It's like that's what happens in most of the people, you know. That's how the anatomy is. So, but if we are not too obsessed about it, mind can be calm.
Thank you.
Okay? So the real thing we got to do is calm our mind.
Thank you.
So anybody else before we start the class? So let me.
What page of the book we are on?
I'll tell you. Just 1 second. Let me mute you all.
I just see.
I can do that somehow.
We'll mute ourselves.
We can do
because Jyoti normally does it, and Jyoti is not there.
So let's all do it on our.
We can do it on our own. So just don't stress about it. Hanji.
We don't hear you either, Harsh, now.
Else is okay. Yeah. So you can hear me now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So first we're gonna do a mantra from this book. Okay. Ved Vivechan, and mantra number is 47 from a Rig Ved. मनुष्य ने आदि काल से ही अग्नि के महत्व को पहचाना है और उसे अपने साथ रखा है और इस द्वारा सभी कार्य किए हैं. मनुष्य जान पाया कि आग जीवन प्रदायिनी शक्ति है और उसके बिना जीवन सुखी नहीं हो सकता. इस भाव को वेद मंत्र इस प्रकार प्रकटाता है। अग्निम सुमनाय दधीरे पुरोजनः, मनुष्य ने अपने सुख के लिए अग्नि को अपने सामने रखा। सुखदाई जो वस्तु हो, राखत जन वह पास, आदि काल से आग को मिल पाया थल खास। सदा हो आग पास ही, पाए न बुझने लेश, प्रतिपल आग आवश्यक, सुलगत रहे हमेश। आग रहे जन सन्मुख, बिन उसके हो ना काम, महत्व ये जो आग का, शास्त्र कहे तमाम। धर्म कर्म की वस्तु का, आग है जिसका नाम, आज प्रयोग कर रहे उल्ट पुल्ट के काम। देव सदा जन को सुखदाई, करे न दूषित उनको भाई। मानव ले धर्म निज जान, सदा देवों का हो सम्मान। And we all know Devatas are these basic elements. We talk about it all the time. So let's do the Vedic peace prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Bhu Bhuva Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Asto Ma Satgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamya. Om Sehna Bhavatu, Sehna Bhunatu, Sehviryam Karvavahi, Tejasvi Navadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. In this class, we are studying Ashtavakra Gita. And we finished chapter 9 last week. So today's chapter is chapter 10.
Harji, I am in the class, but I haven't even had time to take a shower. So I am going to be without the video.
Okay, all right. That's good. I think today a lot of people took shower.
I just...
Okay.
This book has driven me crazy. Phone aate hain.
No, I understand. Yes. Okay. So dispassion, that is this chapter, dispassion. And normally dispassion is leaving behind something. See, ordinarily also, if you want to walk, if you don't let go of the space with one foot, we cannot move forward. If you are climbing on a ladder also, if you don't let go our foot from the lower step, we won't be able to go higher. So in spirituality, what are we leaving behind when we say dispassion? We are leaving behind the ignorance. So if you don't let go of the ignorance, agyan, avidya, we won't be moving into the light, the gyan. Or in other words, if you don't let go of the unreal, we cannot move into the real. So that's why the teachers of spirituality, without fail, they recommend renunciation. And in Sanskrit, it's called vairagya. Vairagya. So they emphasize the need for the spirit of vairagya. Okay. So without renunciation of the false, we cannot attain the real. Okay. It's a very significant term. Very significant. We should try to understand it. So literal meaning of vairagya is actually not detachment, dispassion. Dispassion. Where our attachment to body, mind, and intellect, it has ended through vairagya. Okay. So right now we are obsessed with the temporary, but we got to become obsessed about the real. Okay. the previous chapter, there was a emphasis upon the worldly objects. Vairagya about the worldly objects. Now we'll see Rishi Ashtavakra is taking our attention towards another level of Vairagya. He says ultimately we must give up even our anxiety to fulfill the traditionally accepted and recommended goals of life. Anxiety over those. That doesn't mean that do not perform the goals of life, but anxiety over performing the goals. And what are those goals of life? He will tell us in the next chapter, or this chapter, 10th chapter. We are all familiar with these terms. Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha. These are the recommended goals of human life. Dharma. Dharma means whether we are performing the religious rituals or whether we are doing our duties. Dharma is translated as piety. That's dharma. Arth means the wealth. And it could be a physical wealth or it could be any other kind of wealth, whatever we think it's wealth, earth. And Kam is the desires. And moksha is anxiety for liberation. Because when you are liberated, then there's no anxiety. As long as we have anxiety, we need to detach from that. Okay, so the self alone is real, the universe is false, and it's how false? False as a magician's show. That's what again and again Ashtavakra is telling us. Indrajal, he has used that word beautifully. So all activities in the pursuit of dharma, earth and kam are also unreal at this level. So the very anxiety for liberation is an illusion. So that's in that sense, Rishi Ashtavakra is saying that all these are to be renounced. And this is called the Param Vairagya, supreme dispassion. First we work on the lower Vairagya, then the Param Vairagya. And another terms for this is Par Vairagya and Par Vairagya. Okay. So Rishi Patanjali used those words, Par and Apar. Okay. So the awareness in us that illumines the very ignorance in us and makes us conscious of it, that is the supreme self, and that's where we are going. Okay. So now let's look at the whole chapter is sung by Rishi Ashtavakra.
Harji,
Yes.
can I ask one question here?
Sure.
When he says that we have to renounce the above, the dharma, arth, kam, and moksha. So wasn't the kam part of the physical, or it is something else?
Kam is any kind of a desire.
Any kind. So
where is the calm coming from? Calm is those are the thoughts emerging from the mind. Okay, so detachment from the mind also. So that is the desire.
So even if you have reached a certain stage where you are no longer attached to all the physical that he said, the first part, would these not follow by themselves, or for that also there has to be work?
There is a work. We got to be alert. Because the subtler the emotions, the easier they just creep into our personality. Okay. See, physically we are sitting down and studying or meditating. What really disturbs us? The subtle part, not the physical part. So we got to work on that also. Okay. So number one, we could talk more about it at the end of the class also.
Okay.
Let's see how he explains this param vairagya. Vihaye varinam kamam artham cha anartha sankalam dharmam api etyo hetum sarvatra anadram kuru. Vihaye means forsaking. Varinam, enemy. Kamam, desire. Artham, wealth. Anartha, sankalam, full of mischief. Dharmam, the piety. Api means also etyo, of these two. Hetum, cause. Sarvatra, everywhere. Anadram, disregard. Kuru, do. So Ashtavakra ji is saying, having given up desire, kama, which is the enemy. Wealth, the worldly prosperity, which is attended with mischief. And piety, dharma, which is the cause of these two. This is a pretty deep verse. Okay? See, cultivate indifference in everything. Because the dharma karam we do, the good deeds, initially the motive behind the dharma is that I attain more wealth. Or my desires get fulfilled. Let me read it again. Having given up desire, which is the enemy, he called desire an enemy. Yesterday we were talking about that anger is an enemy, because in Bhagavad Gita we learned that anger is an enemy. But then we were talking about this discussion we had before yesterday's class. Anger, enemy, sure. It attacks us. Afterwards we realize that it was not good. Whatever I said, whatever I did, when the anger was overcoming me, was not good. But desires are even bigger enemy. Because more desires get fulfilled, more they grow. So in that sense, Rishi Ashtavakra is saying, having given up desire, which is the enemy, wealth, which is attended with mischief, and dharma, which is the cause of these two. Cultivate indifference in everything. He's not saying just let go of everything. He says indifference. Disregard. So it's not that you are not supposed to be dharmic, but make sure that you don't do the dharma because to fulfill your desires or to attain some kind of a prosperity. Okay, so this is a very traditional Indian scheme of life where these 4 words are mentioned again and again. Whether you open up Mahabharata, Bhagavad Puran, or Bhagavad Gita, or any other scripture, or listen to any guru also, these 4 words are very common words. But Rishi Ashtavakra is talking to Raja Janak, who has been doing this. He is not saying don't do these things. He says be indifferent towards it. Okay. So these are like a side stations. These side stations help you to reach the ultimate. Don't make these as your goals. So he's advising here to his student, and we are his students too. To keep in mind right now, he did not mention moksha though. He only mentioned the desire and the dharma and the artha. Only three, not the fourth one. But he'll talk about the fourth one also later on. Okay, so as we enter with the sadhana into the higher states of sadhana, the meditation, yesterday we were talking about the dharana, dhyana and samadhi. When we reach there, these gurus, they want their students to give up all these limited goals of life. Initially, sure, they show us the direction. When we were little, we were told, do the rituals, take care of the body, have a goal in life, earn your own living. Those were fine. They were not bad goals. Initially, we need to follow that. But ultimate goal of life, that's where these teachers, these gurus, they take us. Okay? And we all know of course, that is the moksha. But then he says, don't even get anxious about that. In the last lap of the journey, don't even get anxious. So it's like to a very serious student, this Rishi is talking about. So this attitude of total dispassion is not just a mere physical act of running away from the enjoyment of objects. This is an attitude that the student discovers in himself as a result of a healthier understanding of the world around him. This comes from experience. We ran after money, we ran after the rituals, we ran after the relationships, we ran after the pleasures. From that experience, what is our experience? Got to just look within. What did we get with the help of those experiences? Only then there is a true dispassion. So this is the state of highest dispassion, which is to be lived in the meditation seat. See, first we live it when we are meditating. It's not that we announce to the world. We just live it. And while transcending the mind rather than the world, while communicating with the other members of the community, then ultimately it shows in our personality. Okay? So let's look at in the next verse how, just like a whole chapter, the 8 verses, he is just trying to bring this truth open for us. So he says, Swapan indar jalvat pashe, dinani trini panchva, mitra kshetra dhan agar, dar daye adi sampada. Swapan, yes. Who has a question? No. Swapan indar.
Hershey, I was saying, sorry. Manju. So I was saying, this is the end of the first Gita, Moksha Sannyas Yoga.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
Just like you said.
Yes, exactly. That no anxiety or anxiousness about the moksha. We are not talking about a person, ignorant person who says, no, I don't want moksha. We are talking about that meditator, that yogi who is not anxious about moksha and he is already a jivan mukta. Okay, because there could be some ignorant person. He says, no, I like this life. I don't want to talk about moksha. Or some people might say that this moksha is too hard. Or maybe it's just only written in the books. It's not achievable. We are not talking about that kind of a student. We are talking about a student who has lived this life. Lived this outer life also, lived the inner life also, understood it completely and did that practice and the sadhana. Okay.
Hershey, this is Sonia. Namaste
Yes,
to
Sonia.
you and everyone.
Yes.
Quick question regarding this. So, are you saying anxiety versus desire? They're
Yeah.
two different things, right? So you
Yes.
can have a desire for moksha, but not anxiety about moksha. Is that
Yeah.
correct, or there's
Yeah,
more?
no, but even desire also, if the desire keep on erupting, whether I'll get a moksha, I'll not get a moksha, that becomes anxiety. It doesn't take that much effort for desire to convert into anxiety. Okay, so over here, this sadhak has full faith in the words of the Guru, in the words of the scripture. Faith is there, Shraddha is there, that I am not liberated, but I am definitely walking on the path, and that's fine with me. There's a calmness.
Okay.
The opposite of anxiety is calmness. And all these are symptoms in the mind. And if it's not a calm mind, it's a disturbed mind. If it's a disturbed mind, then through the disturbed mind, you really cannot connect with yourself. So you just do what needs to be done, and you are calm about it.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
Harshji, doesn't the desire itself mean the other part of desire is it being fulfilled? The desire comes with that. It is part of the desire. It's the makeup of the desire to be fulfilled. So when we are, that means we are looking at the end. End of the fruit of that desire. We are constantly looking at it. We might say we will ignore or whatever, but I think it's ingrained in the desire itself that it should be fulfilled.
Yeah. And that's where the anxiety comes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's why we got to, he's just taking our mind to this very subtle part of our sadhana. Okay. So Swapanindar Jalva, this is number 2. Jalvat Pashya Dinani Trini Panchva Mitra Kshetra Dhan Agar Dar Daye Adi Sampada Swapan Indar Jalvat. See, what means like, as? So like a magician's show or a dream. See, Swapan is the dream, Indar Jal is a magician's show. Pashya means see, Dinani days, Trini 3, Panch means 5, Va means or. Mittar, friends, Kshetra, the lands, Dhan is the wealth, Agar, Agar means a house, Dar means wife, Daye Adi Sampada, parents and other such objects of the, no, not parents, it's like a things, presents, and other such objects of the wealth. So he's talking about wealth over here, sampada. So he's advising us, look upon friends, lands, wealth, houses, wives, presents, and other such objects of fortune as a dream. Or as a magician's show, lasting only a few days, just 3 or 5.
ये wives को क्यों डाल दिया बीच में?
Well, any relationship, wives don't go with the husbands either. So two separate. This journey is our own journey. Okay. So all the relationships are only in this life, or maybe the next life also, but again, not when we merge, when we attain that ultimate goal. Okay. So 3 or 5 really means counted. You can count it. It's not eternal. It's a temporary. They have only a temporary existence. They are not eternal. Okay, lasting only a few days, just like 3 or 5. So this is like a constant view of the fields of experience we should keep. That's how the larger or the bigger dispassion or the supreme dispassion we will cultivate. that this is all temporary. These could be the means to rise above, but they are not the goal. Doing our duties with our family members, paying our bills ourselves, taking care of the parents or taking care of the children or taking care of this body or taking care of anything else which you're supposed to do, those are just the means, not the goal. So we got to recognize the hollowness of this accepted aims or goals of life, or the aims of existence with our relationships, with our wealth, with the objects. All are really illusions of the mind, and as insubstantial and false as the dream object. That's the point he's trying to make over here for us. The more we recognize this like a transitionness of all this, whether they are the joys or whether they are sufferings, whether they are like a joys of achievements in this world of polarity, as they say, the stronger we will grow this dispassion internally. Okay, this dispassion is not an outwardly dispassion, it's a dispassion from the mind. So remember that. Nobody is asking us to leave home, become a sannyasi. No. Unless that is our swabhava. Some people are. They just have complete detachment. Or some people can leave the homes also because it's too difficult for them. Then that's not a dispassion. That is out of laziness. Otherwise, we can live in the household like a great gurus, great yogis. We have so many examples. They lived in household, doing their duties, but they lived utterly dispassionate about everything and passion about the goal, which is God. Okay. Yatra yatra bhavet trishna sansaram vidhi tatrve prod vairagyam ashrite vit trishna sukhi bhav. Yatra yatra means wherever. Bhavet is trishna, desire. Sansaram, the world. Vidhi, no, K-N-O-W. Tatra means there, where means indeed. Prod vairagyam, strong dispassion. Ashrite, adopting. Vit trishna. See, trishna means desire, like a hankering desire. Vit means free. Okay. Sukhi means happy, bhav means be. Know that to be the world, wherever there is desire, cultivating strong dispassion, go beyond the desire and be happy. Normally we think that if our desires are fulfilled, only then we are happy. Over here he is recommending that let go of the desire and be happy. All the rishis, all the masters, all the gurus, they never get tired of repeating this idea, which is a realized truth by them. See, that's why they keep on repeating, because they experience that. It's a realized rational fact. Okay. So if we are not able to stand away from the enchantments of our desires, then we will stay where we are, constantly running after fulfilling those desires. And we'll live a life of a miserable tragedy. Some desires get fulfilled, we are happy, then we want something else, then we are running after those, and again if we cannot, again we are unhappy. So sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are not, but most of the time there's an anxiety. There's no calmness. In Bhagavad Purana, there is a story about a lady, her name is Pingala. She is a prostitute. This is a story told by and avadhut to yadhu. And this says, Asha hi parmam dukham, nirashyam parmam sukham, yathas samchidam, kanta sham sukham, sushvap pinglo. So Pingala, that's why I just told you the name of that lady. So what does it say translates in English? Desire indeed is the supreme source of sorrow. Asha hi parmam dukham. And desirelessness, the source of extreme happiness. So if you want to be happy, desirelessness. If you want to be miserable, desires. Just as in the case of Pingala, when she destroyed her passion and anxiety for men, she slept peacefully. Okay? So no desire, there is a calmness.
Could you repeat it in Sanskrit? I want to write it.
Okay. Asha hi paramam dukham.
Yes.
Nirashyam paramam sukham.
Nirasha.
Yeah. Nairash means desirelessness. Right. Not a nirasha.
Right.
Nairashyam. There's a slight difference in there.
Yes, yes.
Desirelessness. Nairashyam paramam sukham. Yada samchidye. Yada samchidye kanta sham.
Chidye.
Kanta sham sukham sushvap pinglo. Okay, I can make a copy of it and send it to you, Manju. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I'll do that after the class.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So in Yoga Vashishta also we find an elaborate metaphor painted similarly. It says Manorath Ratha Rudam Yuktam Indriye Vajibi Brahmyet Ev Jagat Krishnam Trishna Sarathi Cha Uditam. The individual ego, riding in the chariot of the mind, pulled by the horses of sense organs, wanders all over the world, driven by its charioteer, desire. Okay, so in both of these scriptures, in other scriptures also, they just talk about the desire, the kamana. That's why it's considered an enemy. Enemy for whom? Who has realized that what my ultimate goal is. Otherwise, yes, desires, more the desires, a person can be more active, more money, but more anxiety also. So do we want to stay anxious? Do we want to just take the pills at night so that we can sleep? Or do we want to have a calmness and peacefulness? Choice is ours. Okay. Trishna matra atmakaha bandha tatnasha moksha uchyate bhava samsakti matrena prapti tushti muhurmuhu. Trishna matra atmaka, consisting of desire alone. Bandha, bondage. Tatnasha, destruction of that. That means that. Nash is destruction. Moksha, liberation. Uchyate is called. Bhava samsaktihi matren, through the non-attachment of the world alone. Okay, it's a bhav asasankti. If you break it down, it's like a asasankti means detachment or non-attachment. Prapti tushti, joy from attainment. Muhur muhu, constantly, like again and again. Desire is the soul of bondage, and its destruction is said to be liberation. By non-attachment to the world alone, does one attain the constant bliss of the realization of the self. Okay. So where desire have ended, thoughts have ceased. Because desires are only in the thoughts. And we want to control our thoughts. And only then the mind is halted. Where there's no mind, there cannot be any ego. The experiencer of the joy and the sorrow is the ego, because we identify with that. The sense of identification is the ego, right? So ego has ended. So dispassion is the only sure and efficient way to reach the highest state of bliss, according to these rishis. So sensuous desires alone are bondage.
एक बार और repeat कर दो. Enjoyer of.
Enjoyer is who? The ego.
Ego, okay.
Okay, that's essentially, that's what I was telling you.
Right, enjoyer of.
So there cannot be, where there's no mind, there cannot be any ego. The experiencer of the experiences or the world of polarity, or it's the sorrows also. Okay. So sensuous desires alone are bondage. Their renunciation is liberation. So this is a very simple definition he is giving it to us. So that's why he said, just let go of this kamna. Tvam ekaha chetan shuddha jadam vishwam asat tatha avidya api na kinchit saka bubhutsaha tathapite. Tvam means you, ekaha, one, chetan, intelligence, shuddh is pure, jadam, inert, like a material, vishwam, universe, asat, non-existence, tatha means and, avidya, ignorance, api means also, na means not, kinchit, anything, sa means that, ka, what, bu, bhutsaha, desire to know. Tathapite. Tatha means yet. Te means your. You are the one. Pure intelligence. The Chetna. The universe is inert, jad, and unreal. Ignorance also is non-existent. What then can you yet desire to know? So in the last part, he's just putting a question to us. That it's all jad, it's all inert, it's all unreal. Why are you running after it? So the previous 4 verses, if we look at it, Rishi is indicating to us in a language of negation. What are the things to be renounced? Here he is taking a positive stand. And he is trying to indicate to the student the very spiritual center, the Chetna. He says, identify with the which is to reject everything else. When you know the real, when you know the truth, when you know the eternal, why don't you pay attention to that? Everything unreal will be very easy to let go. It's almost like developing a relationship with the God. All other relationships are temporary. We have spent lives after lives after lives cultivating, developing the relationships which are temporary. And because of that, lots of ups and downs also. Lot of anxieties, lot of heartbroken, lot of tears. He says, because of the avidya you have done it. Saka bhutsaha tathapite. The essential nature of being is the self. And this self is the consciousness. Everything else is jada. So the self alone is real. In the light of the pure intelligence, There cannot be the darkness of ignorance. So in other words, what he is just opening our eyes or trying to shake us up, that what more should one intelligently understand? This is all to be understood from the study of the scriptures. This is the goal of the sadhana. So for a practical student who's ready to do sadhana, everybody is not ready to do this level of sadhana. But if you are ready, then there's nothing more than experience of the self. There's no other hair-splitting argumentations or endless logical reasonings are really necessary. This is the ultimate truth. So he is advising to this level of students to give up the inert things. Na ham na cha anye dastih brahmev asmi niramayam. Itham sad astoho dhyayat ya pashyati sapashyati. Neither I as an individual nor others really exist. I am Brahma who sees from a point between existence and non-existence the consciousness that illumines both the real and unreal. He alone sees. See, ya pashyati sa pashyati. He alone sees the reality. And what is that? The self. So the real thing, the real sadhana is taking us towards that. Okay. Rajyam sutaha kaltranihi shri rani sukhani cha samsaktasya api nashtani tav janmani janmani. Rajyam, kingdom. Suta, sons. So that means offsprings. Kaltrani, wives. Shri Rani, bodies. Sukhani, pleasures. Cha means and. Samsaktasya, attached. And see, sakt means attached. Samsakte, it's very attached. Api means though. Nashtani have been lost. Tav means you. Janmani, janmani, life after life. Kingdoms, sons, wives, bodies, and pleasures have all been lost to you. Life after life. We don't know how many bodies we have occupied. This time we are so happy that we have this human body. But we don't know what kind of a bodies we had before. So kingdoms, sons, wives, bodies, and pleasures have all been lost to you. We had it, then they are taken away. Life after life, even though you are attached to them. We think this time we are attached. Previously we were attached to. But that attachment could not keep us in that form. It was taken from us. The same way it will be taken this time too. But while we are here, we can do something about the ultimate goal. So in the previous verse, a highly metaphysical, philosophical argument was given. The jad and what the real is. So now, the Atma is just taking our attention towards that. Other Vedic masters, the same kind of a message they have given. They say, other than the gross, subtle and causal bodies, Sathul, Suksham, Karan, Sharir. So other than the gross, subtle and causal bodies, the witness of the three states of waking, dream and deep sleep, of the nature of existence, knowledge, bliss, this, which remains in our personality, that is the self, the Atma. Sachidanand Anand Savarupo Yat Tishtati Sa Atma. So all those different bodies which we acquired, or even in the bodies when we had different kinds of levels of consciousness also, who was the watcher? Who really knew? Atma. He says, know that. A person who will know that truly knows. And that's why I said earlier, ya pashyati, sa pashyati. And over here he says, Sachidanand Savarupaho yat tishtati sa atma. So over here, this Rishi, he's telling us that essentially nothing but the self, the Atma, is true. Everything else is just, right now we think it's true, but it's not essentially. And he gives us a very rational reason, which even a common person can understand in this verse. He says, life after life. See, we don't have to be a high level of scholars to understand this truth. Life after life, we must have sought to acquire, to possess, and to enjoy. Our wealth, that's the kingdom. Our children, our spouses, our bodies, our pleasures. And yet in every life, we had ultimately lost whatever we had. It was taken away. Either it was taken away from us or we were taken away from that. We don't know which one happens first. So it is intelligent not to get ourselves entrapped by the fascination for all these things. Because in the state of attachment, we suffer. Suffering comes from attachment. Whenever we are attached to something and it has been taken away from us, there's suffering. Okay? Then he says, alam arthen kamen sukriten api karmanaha ebhya sansar kantare na vishrantam abhutmana. Alam means no deed. Arthen with wealth. Kamen with the desire fulfillment. Sukriten with the pious deeds. Api means and, karmana actions. Ebhya from these. Sansar kantare, in the wilderness of the world. Na means not, vishrantam, reposed. Abhut was mana, mind. Enough of wealth, desires, and pious deeds. In the wilderness of the world, the mind did not find repose in these. So he's repeating the idea which he mentioned earlier. So he is insisting that the pursuits of wealth, desire, and piety is indeed unrewarding. Unrewarding from the standpoint of the highest goal. So don't get confused about this, because he is taking us towards the highest goal from that standpoint. He's not saying that don't do these things, but he says these are again the means to attain the highest goal. And with wealth, what happens? With wealth, the mind discovers various avenues of dissipation. That's what wealth does. Do I have enough? Where is it? What will I do if it's taken away? How will I live? So that's what happens to, if we make the wealth as our goal, this is what happens. And with desire, fulfillment have never brought ever a complete contentment to any human mind. If you think that, no, I'm going to fulfill my desires and then I will walk on the path of spirituality, that's not how it works. Desires only multiply with each fulfillment. And pious deeds, he said earlier to us in the very first verse of this chapter, They are the very cause. They have provided the seeker with his present wealth and the dream fulfillment. Right? We do the dharam karam so that our desires get fulfilled. They never get fulfilled. We multiply more. So that's why he says, realizing this truth, cultivate dispassion. The Param Vairagya. The last verse of this chapter, Kritam nakati janmani kayen manasa gira dukham ayah sadam karam tat adhe api upramyatam. Kritam, undertaken, na means not kati, how many, janmani, births, kayen with the body, manasa with the mind, gira with speech, dukham painful, aya sadam, exacting. Karam is work, that means so, adhye, today, api even, upramyatam, sees. For how many births have you not undertaken hard and painful work with your body, mind and speech? See, through these we do the actions, right? Normally we say manasa, vacha and kaya. Over here he is using the word kayen, the body, manasa, the mind, gira is the speech. It's a different word for speech, gira. Okay, so for how many births have you not undertaken hard and painful work with your body, mind and speech? Hence, seize them at least even today. So he's not saying don't do the work, but pay attention to that power which is watching. That's what you are. You are not the doer. You are not the enjoyer. You are only the seer. Identify yourself with the seer, not with the doer, not with the enjoyer. That's what he is saying. So this is what Gita said too. Gita clearly points out in a very scientific analysis of action. Gita even tells us there are tamasic actions performed with utter selfishness. And what the tamasic actions do, and the tamasic actions can be done with the kaya, manasa and gira, they can give us sorrow. Sorrow to us and sorrow to others also, the tamasic actions done by those three ways. And rajasic and sattvic actions, Gita says, sure they are unselfish. They reward us with obvious joys or the temporary joys, but they also are within the category of sansar. Therefore, they are unreal and they are painful in that sense. So he says, no doubt selfless dedicated activities would increase the sattvikta. But doing the sattvic actions, always pay attention that you are the non-doer. Don't take the ownership of doing and enjoying while doing. So this is a evolution. So he's not telling us not to do good actions. He says, pay attention to yourself, who is not doing, who's only watching. But do the sattvic, because if it's tamasic, it's definitely, it will give you pain and pain to others. This is what we learned from Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so mind should be purified. There should be a selflessness. The actions should be dedicated to others, to God. But always remember, you are not the doer. Okay, because all our best actions undertaken very diligently, so laboriously, with the utmost efficiency, still can bring out a lot of sorrow. And they will give us only the impermanent joy. Because in the impermanent world, we cannot find the permanent joy.
Harshji?
Yes.
He says in the first one, I think when we talked about dharam, earth and all that, he said, by performing good works, we earn merit, which brings on us worldly prosperity as well as sensual enjoyment, which is the cause of, which is, what did he say? He said, it creates mischief because we end up getting into calm and earth. Dharam was the reason, he said. But now we are talking about doing the sattvic karam, so basically doing the dharam, and he's saying that will lead you to more prosperity and you will end up getting into some kind of mischief. So
Yeah.
how are we looking at it, even though let's say we are doing it and saying, oh, I am not the doer, but it still brings you that prosperity, he says.
Yeah, but still,
it will bring on you, and it will be the cause of trouble because you will get into all the prosperity and sensual pleasures.
Yeah, so that's why at this level, when a sadhak has reached this level, it's like a more and more simplification in life.
So even
less
if we say
less and less running after the material prosperity. Whatever comes according to prarabdha, this level of sadhak will just accept that. It's a prarabdha. I got it. But no more struggle to get more, to become more popular, or to become worldly richer.
Hi.
That's what happens. Okay? Yes.
But Hershji, when it is done without ये जो पूनम ने raise किया है question, इसका तो if you're doing it satvically, not by just saying, okay, I'm dedicating it to God, but if you from inside, from your inside chetna se, you are saying you are not doing it, and at the same time you are dedicating, and whatever the fruits you are getting, you are not enjoying because you are not looking for those fruits, then the effect of that will be that it's not binding. It's
That's
not going
right.
to give you any karma. So, you know, your karma ka wo jo bank balance hai, wo increase nahi hoga.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And it happens in stages actually. Okay,
Right.
stages. It's not from one stage we'll reach to the highest right away, but yeah, constantly we got to work on that. Who is the real in me and what is the unreal?
Listen.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
this is called a discrimination. This is what we learn in other scriptures also. This is the vivek, understanding. When this kind of understanding dawn in our mind, you have really started on this path. Like you really started and walking, and maybe the running will happen also from here. Okay, so the similar kind of a message we got in Yoga Vishishta also. Bhuktvaha varsh sahasrani durbhog patli mimam. Even after enjoying thousands of years, sahasra, the basest of sensuous enjoyments, then he says, Brahmastam Priyantam. From the creator to a tuft of grass, no one has ever reached contentment. So the real contentment cannot come from the fulfillment of the desires. That is the point he's making. And we are looking for a real contentment, everlasting contentment and the peace. He says, Prapten ye no bhuyaha prapt vayam avshishyate tat prapto yatnmati tishthet kashtyapi cheshta. Laboriously struggle to gain that. That means with a capital T, that, the self. Having gained which, there is nothing more to gain. Because in the worldly pursuits, we achieve something, then there is something more to achieve. But the topmost car, somebody else was driving better than that. Then you want to have that. Don't they always say that a millionaire was very happy, very content, very happy, until he met a billionaire? So in the world, that's what happens. So laboriously struggle to gain that, having gain which there is nothing more to gain. And this is from Yoga Visheshta. Tat prapto yatnam tishthet kashtyapi cheshtaha. This continuously pant and struggle, this is what this world is.
हर्षी इसके साथ वो भी डाल सकते हैं ना, न सतो विद्यते भावो न भावो, विद्यते सत अभ्योरपि, है ना?
Definitely, definitely. All these Vedic mantras, or these scriptures, the Shastra, the words of the rishis, they are all taking us towards the same truth. Whatever suits our personality at this point. Okay, move from the unreal to real. Sadhana we must do, but the knowledge we have to have. We may not be here right now. Maybe some of you are at this point. But wherever we are, we should know where we are going though. Okay. So anybody, any question? Because this is the end of this chapter. Next chapter, again, Rishi Ashtavakra is giving us more knowledge, more knowledge. We don't know which one really is going to make a little strike in our mind, so that we start our sadhana like at a little different level. We are all doing sadhanas, but we got to intensify our sadhana a little to make some dent or some difference in this lifetime. Okay, anybody, any question? Made sense? Yes, Manju.
No, it's beautiful class. Are you talking to this Manju? Beautiful class. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah. It's this is something. I mean, if we just calmly contemplate upon it, this is the truth, and we all know it. We all know this is the truth. No matter which sect we belong to, what kind of prayers we do, which form of God we really worship, what the stage or the status of life we are in, what gender we are in, does not even matter. This is the truth. Truth cannot be denied. But are we ready to reach up to that or not? That's up to us.
Slowly, slowly, हर्ष जी, क्योंकि जब आपको सुनने के बाद तो पूरा बहुत अच्छा हो जाता है, उसके बाद दोबारा माया घेर लेती है.
More,
right. More. Again and again. See, Rita, that's why this corona has given us the opportunity to have this satsang every day, right? We are very fortunate. It is like a blessing in disguise, right? Otherwise, we would have never had these classes on Zoom. I was not for the technology. I always thought that in person is the best way to learn, but right now I think this is working out pretty good, right?
But Hersh, I can't touch you that way forever.
Yeah. Okay. Many, if you can do a little meditation, then like a couple of 2-3 minutes, then we can open up for an open discussion also.
All the girls. You know what, Hersh? I like you keep it on like this always.
Okay. All right. Let's me. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnase Purnamadhaye Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, we'll just do a few minutes of chanting. We'll listen to the chanting, and if you want to do chanting with it, do it also. Okay, and then after that, we'll just unmute everybody, and or you'll unmute yourself. I think today you are doing it yourself, and we can have some conversation. Thank you, Manny.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Thank you very much, Manny. That was nice. So, yeah, if you have any question, you can unmute. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll have another class. So,
Thank you so much.
and thank you for coming. It's always
Harshvi, I have a question.
Namaste.
Who has a question?
नीरू
Harshi.
Okay, Neeru.
थोड़ा उस पे एक्सप्लेन कर देंगे जो शुरू में मंजू गुप्ता ने क्वेश्चन रेज करा था।
मंजू ने कहा था कि गीता है, गीता की फिलॉसफी, इट इज ए बेसिकली ड्युअलिटी के बारे में है, क्योंकि उसमें ज्ञान विज्ञान क्षेत्रज्ञ ना, भगवान को कहते हैं मैं और तुम, प्रकृति पुरुष, सभी के बारे में बताया. सो दैट्स लाइक ए ड्युअलिटी. इसमें नॉन ड्युअलिटी, सो इसलिए इसको मोर लाइक ए वेदांतिक फिलॉसफी भी कहते हैं. तो सिर्फ एक है, बाकी सब अनरियल है. बेसिकली अनरियल इसको कहते हैं, स्वप्न है ये सारा कुछ.
पर
उसमें क्या कहते हैं, उसमें क्या कहते हैं कि स्वप्न नहीं है, टेम्पररी है, बट दैट इज योर ड्यूटी. लॉर्ड कृष्ण डिडंट टेल अर्जुन कि रन अवे फ्रॉम हियर, दिस इज ऑल स्वप्न. ही सेड नो, this is your duty, you got to do your duty, wage the war. But how to wage the war, he teaches him.
So he tells about the real and unreal.
He does talk about real and unreal, and he says in the unreal, even though it's unreal, you have to do your duties. So this level is a little above that. Okay, so this predominantly this scripture talks about in a non-dual way. It's only one. That says no, there's a duality. Okay, that's what Manju talked about. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Urmil, you have a question? Rita, you have a question?
No, I don't have it.
No? Okay.
Thank you. और ये बहुत अच्छा लगता है जब सुन रहे होते हैं, और हेल्प भी आती है जब रियल प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं।
At that time, पता क्या होता है, जितना ज्यादा सुना होगा, जितना ज्यादा समझा होगा, जब रियल प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं, then we can apply this more. जैसे कहते हैं ना कि अगर पता है कि कैसे आसन करने हैं, सब कुछ पता है, फिर जब कोई तकलीफ आने लगती है तो we can do that आसन properly to get rid of the problem too. और अगर खाने पीने की चीजें पता है क्या खाना है क्या नहीं खाना, प्रॉब्लम आए, you can make the decision better. Okay, so knowledge का यही है ना कि knowledge itself is not important, applied knowledge is important. Ultimately application इसकी होनी चाहिए, है ना? That's where the power comes. Applied knowledge. पर apply तभी करेंगे पहले जब पता होगा, अगर पता ही नहीं तो application कैसे होगी, ठीक है ना? So इसीलिए पढ़ना बहुत जरूरी है. स्वाध्याय is very important.
Very important.
Okay.
Thank you, Hersh.
Hershji, where is Vidhi?
Huh?
Vidhi
Vidhi is.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh my God, I have never seen you, never heard you.
Yeah,
and
no,
I
Vidhi
was
is in the
wondering.
classes. No, Vidhi was here yesterday.